Welcome, friends, to the first episode of Evolution of Becoming. I am so excited to come to you live on the MyRealityPractice network. The intention of this show is to ultimately to inspire you, to educate you, to empower you, to believe more in you. For my name is Stacey Vanthuyne, and I'm a mindset coach and business consultant whose expertise, more like my passion, my purpose, is helping people to believe more in themselves, to realize that we're the creators of our lives. And we create our lives by the power of our thinking, by the thoughts that we think will ultimately determine our lives. But the truth is, too often we spend more time thinking about what we don't want than what we do want. And you see, the universe and our subconscious mind, which is truly our body, is immoral. It doesn't know the difference if you really want this thing and that's the good stuff, or if you really don't want, but you've been thinking of this bad stuff. It responds to what you think. When you approach each day with a sense of purpose, of inspiration, of faith, of knowing, you will see that also get manifested into your 3D world. You see, there's more to life than what we can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell.
Hey everyone, it's Joey from the MyRealityPractice Network. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned after the show and find out how you can work one-on-one with your show host as they guide you through this process of ascension. Until then, enjoy the show.
Welcome, friends, to the first episode of Evolution of Becoming. I am so excited to come to you live on the MyRealityPractice network. The intention of this show is to ultimately to inspire you, to educate you, to empower you, to believe more in you. For my name is Stacey Vanthuyne, and I'm a mindset coach and business consultant whose expertise, more like my passion, my purpose, is helping people to believe more in themselves, to realize that we're the creators of our lives. And we create our lives by the power of our thinking, by the thoughts that we think will ultimately determine our lives. So right now you may be saying, Stacey, come on. That can't be true. I wouldn't want this outcome if I was, the creator of my life. This wouldn't have happened to me. But the truth is, too often we spend more time thinking about what we don't want than what we do want. And you see, the universe and our subconscious mind, which is truly our body, is immoral. It doesn't know the difference if you really want this thing and that's the good stuff, or if you really don't want, but you've been thinking of this bad stuff. It responds to what you think. So if we're looking for bad or negative of the world, or if we're doubting ourselves, it will manifest the doubt, the negative, the non-belief things. However, if you live from your goal achieved, when you only think of that which you desire, when you approach each day with a sense of purpose, of inspiration, of faith, of knowing, you will see that also get manifested into your 3D world. You see, there's more to life than what we can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. The challenge is we've been taught, we've been conditioned to live from our current results, what we see here in the 3D world, in our physical world. Yet everything that we see in our 3D world has been created twice. First, on the image of someone's mind, using their imagination, as it's the key to all creation, starts with a fantasy. And we create that fantasy by using one of our higher mental faculties, that being imagination. And when someone has thought about someone, has fantasized about an image, about something that they want to create, it's only a matter of time before it appears in 3D world. It's by law. So that's where everything that we see in our 3D world has been created twice. First on the screen of someone's mind, on the image in their mind, and then manifest into the 3D world. And so throughout this time that we spend together, we're going to explore this. We're going to explore our mental faculties, the importance of having a goal, understanding that we're all energy and that creation is finished, that everything that ever is and will be, has been, is already here. Nothing is created or destroyed. What changes is us being able to elevate our thinking, to raise our consciousness, to figure out how to make things happen in our physical world. You look at people like, where do we want to go? Let's go with someone like Albert Einstein. To create what he created, he had a vision. He's always said, the imagination is the most magnificent, most powerful gift there is. He knew that when you live from the wish fulfilled, when you take the path of least resistance, of the effortless way, as Neville would say, which is truly the assumption that it's already done, then it's only a matter of time before it does appear in our 3D world. We're going to explore, this thought and this thinking and how energy flows in and through us. And whether you come from a theology background or a scientific background, which is really our two schools of thought, all people say the same, that we become what we think about. Thoughts do become things. So it's up to us through our lifetime is to raise our conscious awareness, to become more aware of the thoughts that we think. And in doing so, we can be more purposeful in those thoughts. And when we're more purposeful in those thoughts, then we create more of that which we desire. You see, you don't need to know the how a thing will happen. That's not your job. That's ultimately through action, you'll figure it out. But when you set a goal, you want to set a goal that you don't know how, a goal that excites and scares you all at the same time, because it's in that journey, in that evolution of becoming, that it will unfold. As Martin Luther King said, you don't need to see the whole staircase before you take the first step. And that's how we have to live our lives, is taking a step forward each and every day that gets us closer to that which we most desire. For when we raise our vibration, when we raise our energy, we raise our results. Change your energy, change your life, change your thinking, change your life. So I'm so excited to dive into these topics, including universal laws. So I just had said, energy, perpetual transmutation of energy is one of them. How we are either creating or disintegrating by the law of vibration. Why these things happen. How we can take an image on the screen of our mind and through persistent pursuit of that purpose, actually bring that into our 3D world. And it's by law that it will happen. Yet again, we've been conditioned that if it doesn't happen in a certain amount of time, or if we fail in discovering the how, that it's not meant for us. But that's not true. You see, there's a law of duality that says there's good and bad. There's in everything we do. There's a positive and negative. There's an up with a down, a right with a left. There is no hot without cold. And so when we incur an obstacle or a challenge, and potentially it's looked at as failure, really there's good in there. And so what we need to do is reframe the word failure to see that it's only failing when you stop, when you quit. Everything else, though, is exactly how it's supposed to be for you to learn a lesson. And potentially the reason why you haven't achieved that which you desire is because there's more for you to learn first. Or potentially what you truly desire isn't even enough, that there's more for you. And the universe is waiting for you to believe and have this faith that there is something better awaiting for you. So we'll explore these topics throughout the evolution of becoming. We'll also have incredible guests. My first guest that I'm going to share with you is Chris Singleton. And if you don't know who Chris Singleton is, his story is well documented. And I'm excited to share the interview I have with him for you, because there is nothing more inspiring than a man that's living man or woman, that is living their purpose, their passion each and every day. And you see, there's no difference between those people and you. The only difference is they made a decision to go after what they want. So in Evolution and Becoming, and my role is to help you understand that we do not have to settle with our current results. Our current or our past results do not need to determine our future unless we let it. You see, what happens is so often we wake up and we do the same thing as we did the day before. We get comfortable. And it's almost like our familiar past becomes our predictable future. We keep hoping and wishing for something different, but we keep doing the same things. Well, listen, our results are an outcome of our actions. It's our actions meeting the universe where the reaction happens that determines our circumstance, our conditions, our environment, our results. So if we're not liking our results, if we're not happy with our current circumstance, condition, or environment, we have the ability to change that. But it starts with the thoughts that we think. Now, maybe you're similar to me, that we were brought up in a school of thought that said it's better to be safe than sorry. And that stopped you from going after your goals or for pushing further or harder than you've ever pushed before. But the reality, it is not better to be safe than sorry. When you are safe, you aren't growing. And as I just mentioned, nothing stays the same. That is one thing you never have to worry about. Change is inevitable, but your progress, your personal development is a choice. So when we say safe, what we're really saying is I'm tapping out and I'm going backwards. Because you will not go forwards unless you're willing to get outside of that comfort zone. I love Steve Harvey when he says, he got comfortable with the uncomfortable. And if you listen to any great thought leaders, we all say the same thing. In order to get what you desire, you're going to have to feel uncomfortable. I tell you why. Because what you want isn't in alignment with your current beliefs, with your current way of thinking. And so when you want something that's outside of your current habitual way of thinking, which we'll also come to understand is the word paradigms, and those paradigms and self-image that you hold in your subconscious mind ultimately determine your results. So when you have a new idea that you want to try something, you have an intuition, maybe even you listen, it says, hey, I think you should try this. And then instantly you get this flurry of thoughts that tell you why you can't do it. That's because your subconscious mind has been trained to keep you safe. So it tells you why you can't. And this new thought isn't in alignment with your current way of thinking. So it's going to tell you all the reasons why you can't. But when you become aware of what's happening, you say, no, thank you very much. If I continue with that current logic, I'm going to get more of the same, and I want different. I want to feel more fulfillment in my life. I want to improve the relationships I have, not only with other people, but it first starts with loving myself. I want more wealth in my life. I want better health. And you can only get that when you decide to go outside of your comfort zone, when you make a decision to want more. For it doesn't matter where you are today. Things can always get better. And that's really the story of evolution, of becoming, is that there is no final destination. Every day is an opportunity to evolve, to bring more of our spirit to the surface. We are spiritual beings living in a physical body. And energy, spirit, is for further expansion and growth. So when we can give it to ourselves that permission to allow ourselves to grow, to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, to have faith that you are deserving of all that you desire, that everything you desire desires you, and that when you stumble or when it's challenging, that it's only an opportunity to learn, to grow even further, to keep moving forward, then your world just becomes so much better. You live in a state of inspiration. You live in a state of joy. And you see, so often people wait for a tragedy or potentially a diagnosis to make a decision to do something different. But my friends, we can make the choice to either change in a state of suffering and pain, or understand how the universe works, how much infinite potential lies within you that is laying untapped, and decide to make a change in a state of joy and inspiration. And so that's my intention throughout this show, and when we meet the different guests, is to show you how you can make a decision to want and to become more and start to take steps in that direction, to believe more in yourself. So some of the training that I'll go through is, one, to identify what your current limiting beliefs are, what your beliefs really are, to get really clear with what your values are, your non-negotiables, what has gotten you to this place where you are now, and then to start to think and dream and to fantasize about where it is that you want to go. You see, a lot of people, myself included, we share this, but we're all on a journey. We don't know everything. In fact, no one does. You know that there's somebody who needs to improve more, and they say they know it all, because the reality is no one knows it all. You only know what you know. And the whole thing about growing is to stay insatiably curious, to lean in, to keep an open mind. And when we do that, then we welcome new ideas that might generate new thoughts. And when we have these new thoughts, they generate new feelings that put your body in a certain vibration that gives you new action that give you new results. It's exciting stuff. So recognize that we don't have to accept where we currently are, that this does not define us. That if you want more, you can have more. And that if you're really being honest with yourself, you do want more. Our spirit, as I mentioned, is for further expansion and growth. Just sometimes we're afraid to admit it ourselves. Fear is what holds us back. Fear of failing. Fear of what others might think. Fear of poverty. Fear of you name it. I'm sure you can name 3 or 4 more. In fact, comment below. What has stopped you in the past from taking action, from living out your dreams? A lot of times we'll see somebody else doing it and we'll say, oh, they have this and this and this, and that's why. Well, instead of looking at that, use it as proof that if they can, so can you. We all came from the same universal mind. Einstein's mind and mine and yours is the same mind. It's universal intelligence. So when we can tap into the universal intelligence, then we can understand and realize that if we can see the image of what we desire on the screen of our minds and hold that with our will, our ability to focus, and take action each and every day to move forward, it's only a matter of time by law that it will manifest in your 3D world. So that's kind of what we're going to talk to. Oh, the other piece I really wanted to actually, before I move on to, is to say is around, we'll explore those paradigms, those beliefs, which ones we have to root. Think of your mind like a garden, and there's some weeds in there. We're going to have to take them out. We got to make space for the new. But another key piece of this, and something that is just my absolute passion talking about, is your self-image. You see, your self-image is like a thermostat. It sets the level of what you will achieve in life. You will never outperform your self-image. And we have 2 self-images, one that we hold in our conscious mind and one that we have in our subconscious mind. It's that inner dialogue that you have with yourself. And it's that inner dialogue, that self-image that exists in our subconscious mind that ultimately determines our results. You see, our external world is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves on the inside. So again, if you're not loving what's coming into your life, then there's opportunity for us to raise our self-image. There's always, because regardless how good you feel about yourself, you can always feel better. It's high. I like to use the analogy of climbing a mountain. You think you want to go this high, and that you're not sure if there's anything else out there. But once you got to that level and you see a little bit more, you can see that there is more. And that you can expand your awareness. And so you want to climb a little bit further. It's like this continual climb, this continual evolution of ultimately becoming. How's that sound? I want you to comment below of any topics that are you find interesting or that you'd like me to explore, especially when it comes to closing the gap between what we know and what we do, where we are and where we want to go, and our self-image, or I like to say, sexy is an inside job. It's like happiness. You can't expect others to bring you happiness. You can't expect others to make you feel sexy or to make you feel any type of way until you feel that way. And in truthfulness, you can't give it to somebody else until you have it yourself. So this is where we're going to, break out some of those cliche phrases that maybe you've grown up with. Like I said, safe than sorry. It's not better to be safe than sorry. When we are playing it safe, we're not growing. It's time we get out of the field or out of the stands and onto the field to play the game of life. And when we start to play the game, does that mean that we will incur and have to overcome adversity and may incur these challenges? Yes. But that's where the growth happens. And that's where we start to increase our self-image, our belief and our awareness and understanding of ourselves to see that you are capable of so much more. There is not one scientist or person on the earth that can say what you're capable of. Only you can. And so we've unconsciously, most of this, have put these limiting beliefs and these limitations on ourselves by our current way of thinking, but we're ready to break through that. So it's time we break through the invisible prison that we've put ourselves in to stop accepting mediocrity as okay and aim for greatness. I'll share how a process to how you can change your paradigms, how you can up-level your self-image. And I'll share with you people who've done exactly that. Because again, there's no difference between you and them or me and you and any of us, except for the decisions we make, the actions that we took, and the thoughts that we think, the belief that we have in ourselves, the faith. Faith and fear both require us to believe in something that we can't see. So why so often do we automatically go to fear something than to believe that it can possibly happen? Think about your life. The stuff that has been good in your life that has manifested, didn't you want that? How do you think it came here? Because you believed you could get it and it appeared. So if you want to stretch more and become more, have bigger goals that, like I said, excite and scare you all at the same time, then why can't that happen? It absolutely can. When you answer two questions, you take your fantasy from a theory to fact. It's a creative process. And when you answer the two questions of am I able and am I willing, right in that moment, that fantasy becomes a theory. And the truth of the matter is, are you able? You're absolutely able. You're filled with infinite potential. But are you willing? Are you willing to overcome the fear? Are you willing potentially to set some boundaries with people or things or places that you haven't in the past? Are you willing to potentially incur ridicule and maybe even move, right? Because when you have a goal, are you willing to give up your life for it? Now, again, you may say, like, Stacey, that's a little extreme, right? But the reality is you're giving up your life every single day when you don't go after it. I don't know about you, but I'd rather a tombstone that read, she gave it her all every day. She believed so much in herself that she wouldn't stop to the day that her physical body couldn't take her any further than to say she died with regret. She died not trying. She was capable of so much more, but she refused to see her own potential. So why listen to me? Who am I? Let me share a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, my name is Stacey Vanthuyne. I'm a mother of two beautiful daughters, and I was grown up with the belief that wanting more for myself was selfish. But when I came to understand the laws and how we are spiritual beings, we have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. And when we come from a place from the heart, it's not from a place of ego. That is not selfish at all. For the more I can become, the more I can give. The better mother I become, the better friend, the better daughter, the better sister, the better coach, the better employee. You see, we were all born with this greatness, but throughout our lives, we've been influenced by our environment And whatever was going on in our environment when we were young was going straight into us. So if you came from a family or a place where, scarcity was one of their main values, that they said, you can't have that because it takes away from somebody else, or this is only for this type of people and not for your type of people, you too have adopted those beliefs. We're going to change those, because lack or scarcity mindset is really when that competition comes up. And that's when things start to come from your ego and become selfish. But when you come from a place of love, understanding, and realizing this world is abundant, that abundance is your birthright, then you come from a place where it is a disservice not to become more, to explore more of you. You're holding on to gifts that others could benefit from. And we all have our unique and authentic gifts that we were born with to share with others. So you'll see, as you set these goals and you become more and you achieve more and you figure out more about yourself, that the tangible things mean less and less. They're nice. You can acquire a nice house, you can acquire more money in your account to do things, but really the most fulfillment, the most happiness will come when you give back to others. And as I mentioned, you can't give what you don't have. So we're going to explore how to have so you can give. Graciously get, or willingly give, and graciously receive. The other part is I'll share some of my story with you, and how there came a point in my life where my spiritual strength was dying. And I knew that if I didn't make a change, that I would not become who I was. And I could tell the way I was dealing with people and getting frustrated with things and feeling sorry for myself, that I almost became a victim. But we're going to rise, because we are the victors of our lives. And when we take radical responsibility and accountability for what we do and realize that we are the creators, we become the victors of our lives. So my 4 pillars of thought are around rising to become a victor, not a victim, around vibration and understanding the power of our mind, the power of thought, as well as the universal laws. I also love to talk on vision and the importance of having a vision, a destination. We can't hit a target that we don't see. So we'll talk about goals, but in a new way of doing that. A vision, a purpose, our goals. And then ultimately also around vulnerability. I mean, so often people are okay to say, I'm strong, I'm brave. But there is no strong, there is no brave without being vulnerable. And when we become vulnerable, we become really honest with ourselves. And that's really where we need to go to figure out where we are now, is to be vulnerable, to say, where am I now? What are the things that I do that, I want to leave behind, that no longer serve me? Where is there opportunity for me to grow? And embrace that. Vulnerability is a beautiful thing. So we'll really dive in and explore that. And I guess I'll finish this off tonight with saying, my life changed when my paths crossed with Bob Proctor. And if you don't know who Bob Proctor is, he's was the main character in The Secret. I really recommend that you go check him out. He's definitely one of the most renowned thought leaders, and I've been blessed that he was my mentor. In addition to studying with Bob, I've also studied with Dr. Joe Dispenza, because there's this beautiful intersection, I feel, between science and theology. And although my initial understanding around the laws and quantum came from Bob's coaching, when I really started to open my awareness and understand what Dr. Joe was thinking, there is just this really sweet intersection between science and theology. And as I mentioned, they all say the same thing, that we become what we think about, thoughts become things. And so I'll share with you how to manifest. What is the process in bringing more of what you desire into your life? And as I was mentioning, when my spiritual strength was dying, Bob asked me, what is my dream? And in that moment, I realized I didn't have a dream for myself. And so I ask you tonight, as we move into these future weeks, I said, what is your dream? What is it that you want? And you may say, Stacey, I don't know what I want. But the reality is, there is something. And maybe we're just scared of admitting to that self, afraid that we won't get it. But that is where we become vulnerable. So write out a list of 50 things that you want, 50 things that you really start to like inspire you. It's crazy. Don't let the how or your current circumstance deter you from writing down what it is that you want. Write that down. Start to take notes on that. And then we're going to together expand, grow, meet incredible people, and ultimately live a more fulfilling life. As I mentioned, my purpose, my passion is helping you to believe more in yourself, to take the pen back, to realize that you're the creator of your life and your life is your masterpiece. So how is it that you want that picture, that painting to go? Somebody asked Van Gogh one time, how do you paint such beautiful paintings? He said, I see the image of what I want on my mind, and then I paint my dream. I see the image of my dream, and then I paint my dream. Let's do that with your life. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on Evolution of Becoming. I can't wait to get to know you more, to explore these things, to open up about who I am more with you, and ultimately to bring more fulfillment, more inspiration, more love, more joy, more wealth, more health into your life. And in doing so, make a bigger dent in this world.
Hey everyone, it's Joey again. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the show. Please make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. We'd love to hear your comments too. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to never miss an episode from the Reality Practice Network. As I mentioned before the show, I wanted to extend an exclusive offer to you, the viewers of the Reality Practice Network. For all of you watching this video, you're undoubtedly experiencing an awakening and are searching for more explanation into the experiences you're having. Now is the time to explore who and what you truly are. For a limited time, you can now work one-on-one with your show host. Click the link in the description box below to start your journey, or learn more by going to myrealitypractice.com/ascension and let your ascension begin. And remember to ask yourself, what reality are you choosing to create today?